So I'm here to share
the beautiful
gift that is Interstitial, Our Hearts Intertwined. I didn't introduce myself, did I? We're going to do this podcast style. Hi, my name's Roma, and I am part of Interstitial. Hi, my name's Roma, and I am on the Hearts Against Balance podcast. This is my YouTube channel, Jeebus Does Art, because this is going to be a lot of different things, because I have ADD and I can't do just one thing. And I'm here to talk to you about Hearts Against Balance. Wrong. I'm here to talk to you about Interstitial, Our Hearts Intertwined, and the beauty that can come from it. But mostly I'm going to tell you how to play it and encourage you to go to Patreon and buy it. Hopefully. The game is by Riley Hopkins. You can find them at Linksmith Games, or if you're feeling creative, you can go mymothercangotohell.com, which will take you to Linksmith Games, and you can get the game. You can get it PDF, you can get a hardcover, you can do whatever you want. It's amazing. And there's also other games on there, like If Not Us Then Who, which I'm going to learn how to play and probably talk about it because it also is amazing. Their first season was Power Rangers, and now they're doing Star Wars. Let's get started. I've done enough talking. I'm going to do more talking about the thing I said I would talk about instead of introducing everything I'm going to talk about haphazardly. Interstitial, Our Hearts Intertwined is a beautiful, beautiful game. And to briefly go over everything as we continue on through this, I'll just touch on everything for 1 second and we'll move forward. Sound good? Okay. This is a game about hopping from world to world, fighting monsters and making friends along the way. Interstitial focuses on our friendships, romantic relationships, teachers, siblings, enemies, and rivals. Relationships come in many forms, but they make your character who they are. These make up 4 stats: light, dark, mastery, and heart. Light is a symbolic of the friendship and love your character possesses, how empathetic they are, how willing they are to make new friends. This definitely is usually reflected by... how do I describe it? If there's someone who is like, that's friend, will you immediately go like dog whale, wagging tail, like, hey, that person is gonna be my friend, and that person gonna be your friend? Or you're gonna roll a light link with them. Like, that's friend. Next one is dark. Dark is the inner frustrations your character has, the tendency to put up walls around themselves emotionally. They lash out at others and feel anger. Usually, if you have an issue with somebody, say like, that person is clearly an asshole, probably gonna roll a dark link with them. Or that person betrayed me, or I have a traumatic experience with somebody, you're probably gonna roll a dark link with them. You might have started out as a light link with them and then rolled a dark link. Or maybe you started as a light link or a dark link, so you got a dark link with them, and it becomes a light link because you realize that they're just hiding behind their walls, and they break down their walls, and now they're friend. They're friend now. Mastery is how much your character resonates in the world of academia or apprenticeship. They could have studied for years. They could have been teaching others. They could be anything from a coach
to an evil emperor.
I'm not doing that again. I'm doing it again. Mastery I usually will use for, say, like, our leader type or someone we want to learn something from. So this can go both ways. This could be that you are someone's mentor or you are being mentored, if that makes sense. So, for example, our GM, he kind of inserts himself in the game as our squad leader, Kakashi. And so I would have a mastery link with Kakashi because I'm learning from him on how to be a better leader, how to be a better squad person, or maybe there's someone who has a skill you really want to learn, so you can have mastery link with them. Or, you know, maybe you're later on in the game and you acquire a mentor, then mastery link. Pretty straightforward. Heart is how much your character has grown to know themselves. It is looking at someone else and deciding you will change the way you act based on their actions. It's a willingness to learn without being taught. Heart is definitely the most emotional of all of them. Like, a much deeper connection. Not so much as just like monkey brain, like friendship. It's definitely, say like you met Naminé in a dream state, and you feel for her. It's a very emotional situation. You can definitely roll a heart link on that, in my opinion. Definitely, if someone causes you a pivotal moment in character development, whether it's like an enemy that was actually not an enemy, like they were family and then they became an enemy, and then they were family and then they died, like you could turn that like heart link to dark link to heart link. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. It'll make sense. Promise. So you know how D&D has all the dice? D20s, D10s, D1000s, gigantic D20s, D4s. Well, we don't got that here. We just got D6s. We just got D6. Mine come in a fancy container. See here? I got metal dice, so I can be noisy. But the thing is, I didn't get these dice. My producer who edits my podcast made these dice, and you know what? They're loud. Powered by the Apocalypse Games. What the hell is that? The Powered by the Apocalypse game is a game that runs on the Apocalypse World Engine, created by Vincent Baker. The mechanics are as follows. All rolls are 2 6-sided dice, plus the stat, which is your light, dark, mastery, or heart. When you roll over a 10, you succeed in what you were attempting. It's like a natural 20, but instead it's a natural 10. Or not. It doesn't matter if it's natural or not. It just makes it cooler, I guess, if it's natural. When you roll a 7 to 9, it's a partial success. You kinda got it. When you roll a 6 or under, it's a failure. And that's when something bad happens. Something real bad happens. Instead of a D20 game, where you would pick one of your skills and roll on it, in this, you would use your basic moves and playbook moves that are triggered by you doing something within the fiction of the game itself. This is to encourage roleplay over mechanics. And this is one of the many reasons why I like this game, because you know what? It's a lot harder to argue about if you can do this one thing or not. You know, those people who get really upset about things. You know what? You're allowed to be upset. Don't get me wrong. Why am I in that accent? In this game, you don't have to worry so much about what the book says. There's a lot less to worry about what the book says. So if you want to destroy Ifrit with Peppermint Splash Magic Attack, you just gotta roll for it. That's it at the end of the day. What's a move? Each player gets access to what we call basic moves, which are found in the next chapter. Those are the events that happen in roleplay that call for a roll to determine the results. For example, if I went to go hit a big cat man with a sword, then I'd be rolling Strike with Intent. It happens because the fiction dictates it. Like I said. The playbook moves work in the same way. If you have an opportunity to play into your playbook moves, then you get to trigger them and use them. The playbook moves are unique to your character, at least until other people start advancing their character to take from other playbooks. So you know how, like, that makes sense. That makes sense. Maybe. So playbooks are it's like your race, your character sheet, given it's not, you don't have race specific things, you don't have you have character playbook specific things. but it doesn't stay that way forever. You can definitely adopt. It's kind of like multi-classing, I guess. It's like you can take moves from other books to use for yourself, and you have like a whole slot thing. And there's also, you can take from other books, or you can take from the advanced move set that everyone has access to after you do other leveling up first. Or if your game master says whatever, but yeah, up your shit first and then move to advanced moves and then take from other playbooks, and then you can have this ultimate thing.
And you'll be incredibly powerful.
So what's a playbook move? When you create a character in this game, you pick a playbook. Each playbook has certain moves that are tied with it, and it is built to do a different thing. I think I covered most of the stuff prior, but I'm just going to say it because the book says it, and I think it's good to hit it home. When you create a character in this game, you pick a playbook. Each playbook has certain moves that are tied with it and is built to do a different thing. As you gain experience, the playbook unlocks moves for you to have at your disposal. Since each playbook is targeted at doing one thing well, it makes for specialized characters that fits roles well, and you can take from other books' moves, making your characters grow dynamically. Advancing. As you play, you'll gain experience. This can be done through spending links, failing rolls, or specific playbook moves. As you gain 5 experience, you gain an advancement. These are outlined on each character sheet. You can only take each advancement once. And you heard that correctly, folks. If you fuck up, you still benefit. So if you have 5 shitty rolls, you just level up, friend. Heck yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Terms. What terms do I need to know? Game Master or GM, so we're not doing dungeons. Well, you can do dungeons here, but it's not Dungeon Master no more, sir, ma'am, they, them, it is Game Master. Non-player characters, or NPC, we know what that is. Player character, PC, we know what that is. 2d6, 2-sided die, it's at 2-6 die. Harm is your damage, pretty much. So instead of having health points, you have a harm clock. And more of this is explained in the combat section. Forward, if you read the +1 forward section in the playbook move, it usually means the individual affected will get an extra bonus on their roll. So if it's an NPC, something beneficial happens, his personal character, you get an extra thing on your stat. It's pretty much like Bard. You know how Bardic Inspiration, you get an extra thingy? Yeah. Hold is a resource that stays with you until you spend it or otherwise fades. You can spend a hold in different ways as described in the move where you got it. So if a GM gets to hold a move, it's horrifying. Small gang. If a character or group of characters is described as a small gang, then they can perform feats of strength higher than your average individual. So if you do things as a group, you got the power of friendship. Power of friendship. So how are we going to do all this? How is this going to happen? Links. Links are important. Links are very important. Links are the representation of your relationships with others. I told you this was a relationship-heavy game. This is why. Listen closely. A link is a representation of your connection and relationships with others. All links, no matter positive or negative, are important. There are standard 4 kinds of links. Your light link, your dark link, your mastery link, and your hot link. And they're spendable. So, if you run out of links, you can't re-roll, son. You get experience, but you need links. You need links. To make a link, you must find somebody in game, I guess. When you meet someone for the first time, or make an emotional breakthrough with someone you already know, you form a connection with a character, or make a link. Roll based on what the relationship is. Dark links are rivals, light links are friends, heart links are introspection, and mastery links are students and teachers. When you roll a link that is based on your highest stat, gain a +1 on the roll. When you roll with your lowest stat, mark experience. 2 ways to gain experience, bud, but you gotta pay attention, because if you don't remember, no one's gonna remember. And retrospectively, getting those points back is probably not gonna happen, so pay attention. On a miss, your link move doesn't trigger. The GM gives you a link, but also picks one. They either make a move as hard as they want, or someone else gets a link. My game master will usually choose a link for us. So, say if we wanted to have a heart link, he might give us a dark link, and we have to make it make sense. You know what I mean? You have to adjust your story, your role-playing style with your link. You know what I mean? So, be careful. Spending a link. Links can be used in a mechanical way in this game. A playbook move may tell you to spend a link, and this means erase the link from your list. Unless that link is locked, it is gone. It can be remade later. If they're alive, it can be remade later, and this person or relationship isn't forgotten. But it is not as strong as it once was, and you can no longer call on it for help. A link can be spent for several things. Gain advantage on a roll. Create a small-scale retcon. 2 links can be exchanged for experience. So you know how you're right on the edge right there, you know? You just want to level up real bad, or you're about to go in a boss fight and you just don't have enough.
You can spend the links to be a higher level. You just gotta make sure you'll see them again.
What is a locked link, you ask? We'll find out. Give them a second. Links are where you draw your power from, but sometimes a relationship is powerful enough to stay with you even if you have to use it for its power. This is signified through locking a link. When a link is locked, it doesn't disappear, and even if you spend it. When a link is locked, it doesn't disappear when you spend it. Instead, it just becomes inactive until you roll a 10+ with the roll on the same type. Then it reactivates and can be used as normal. When a link has changed from another character, make a link again. On a 7 to 9, the link type changes. On a 10+, it's locked. On a miss, it doesn't change, or the GM changes it themselves. So, say you already have this connection, this link with somebody, and you want to change it, you want to adjust it. If this goes along with your plot, maybe they did something shitty, and you want to take it from a light link to a dark link. You can roll, and if you 7 to 9, it happens. 10+, that link is locked. That's it. It's there. You're good. Which is ideal. Ideally, you want to have, say you're with your party, you want to try to make them lock links if you can, at the mercy of your dice. On a miss, the GM's gonna fuck around with you, so whether it's your party or an NPC, it can change the whole dynamic of things. It could derail the entire direction your party was trying to go in from a screwed up roll, as things should be. And so for your locked links, they count towards your push through stress totals, even if they're spent, which is amazing, and we'll get on that in a minute. Starting links. So when you start your game, you're going to look at each other, so all the people that are in your party currently, given if they're with you at the time, if someone starts in a different room, you obviously haven't met them yet. So your starting links, when you start a game, look at each other and form links with them. It can be any kind, it doesn't have to match both ways. This will explain the connections of your party and how they know and feel about each other. This is great for setting groundwork. You're wherever you're at. Our party met we're all in the Wildcat Army, and so we made introductions. We were assigned to the same squad. We barely knew each other, We got to have our first impressions and move on from there. So a lot of them did not have great links with me. I loved everybody, but nobody really liked me. But that's what happens when you excrete acid from your palms. Rolling with links. When you roll with links, you'll roll with the links that you have in that category, not your stat. This means you have 2 dark links and a dark set of 1, and have to push through stress with dark, you have a +2. This caps at 4. So whether it's a push through stress with light, dark, mastery, heart, doesn't matter. If you have 8 links with people in your heart stat and you're pushing through stress with heart, you can only +4 it. Otherwise, it would be too easy. It would be way too easy. What is advantage? Advantage, as it refers to dice rolls, means that you will have to roll 3d6 instead of 2d6, and you can pick the highest of the 2 numbers. This is a bonus that helps you get higher rolls in exchange for your links or for quick thinking. Advantage. So, you roll your 2 dice. I just got a 3. And I was trying to attack somebody with striking with intent. So, I say I have a +2 in dark. So that only would have been a 5 and I would have failed and I got my ass kicked. What are you gonna do? You're gonna spend a link and you're gonna re-roll it. So you're gonna re-roll one of them. You're gonna re-roll your lowest dice. For me, it's the 1, which sucks, that natural 1. So I'm gonna re-roll it. Or if you just want to be fair, you can leave it, use your 3rd dice. Which was a 2. So I still failed technically. But you could have just, instead of getting your ass kicked, you could have won. You could have gotten that strike with intent if you wanted. You can keep re-rolling. You can keep spending leaks until you run out, but at some point, if you have just rolled poorly the past 4 rolls, 1, you probably need to level up, and 2, it'll make the story interesting. You know, maybe you're intentionally trying to get a new character and you intentionally want to have like a really intense moment. Let them get hit. It'll be cool. Some cool shit will happen. I don't know. Just do it. Go with it. So we talked about links. We talked about the gist. We talked about the game. The gist of the game. We talked about who made the game. We talked about who I am and my background and all that shit. We overviewed. We talked about links. Now we're going to talk about the basic moves, the basic functions of the game for your character. Basic moves. How to do the things. All the things. First one we're going to talk about is a deep dive. So, you know, like perception and investigation and all that fun stuff. Well, this is it. When you confront the situation in front of you and ask questions, roll with heart. On a 10+, ask 3 questions. On a 7 to 9, ask 1. Questions are suggestions. You can, if it's cool with your GM, ask whatever question you want. But these are all what's in the book. What here could I use to blank? What here is not as it seems? What is the best way out of this situation? What is the biggest threat here? What was done here recently? You gain a +1 forward if you act on the answer you get. If you ignore it, you don't get it, but you get advantage of an extra point if you do it. On a miss, the GM tells you something you wish wasn't true, which is the worst. Persuasion. On here is known as convince somebody. When you tell someone what you want from them and are trying to get them to do it, you roll with heart. For a non-playable character, on a 10+, they're gonna do it until something puts them in danger or reveals your true intentions. You know how you charm someone, if they get hurt, they won't do the thing, they break out of your charm spell? It's kind of like that. On a 7 to 9, they'll do it, but they need some clear assurance or evidence first. This is awesome for role-playing, because then you have to actually try to convince this character to do the thing. And it can be pretty silly, especially if you're grasping for straws. For a personal character, so say maybe someone you're playing with, on a 10+, they'll do both. On a 7 to 9, they'll only do one. So the two options are, if they do it, they get experience. If they refuse, they lose a link. So this can be pretty tricky. So if you try to convince somebody in your party to do the thing, and they just really don't want to do it, you kind of fuck up. On a miss, you prepare for the worst. So this could be an inter problem, like in your party. This could be very stressful, but if you can communicate properly and get through it and not take it personally, then you should be fine. But if you are working with a party that might be a little more sensitive or are not open to situations like that, then definitely tread carefully. Making a link. We talked about links a few times already, but this gets a little more in-depth. When you meet someone for the first time or make an emotional breakthrough with someone you already know, you form a connection with a character, or make a link. Roll based on what kind of relationship. Dark links are rivals, light links are friends, heart links are introspection, and mastery links are students and teachers. When you roll a link that is based off your highest stat, gain +1 on the roll. When you roll for your lowest stat, mark experience. On a 10+, you both get a link on one another, and your link move triggers. Unless otherwise. Like familiar playbook, my link move is as if I miss it, my familiar gets a dark link. So it depends on your playbook, but for the most part this is true. On a 7 to 9, your link move doesn't trigger, or the link isn't what you intended. Like your GM picks your link for you. On a miss, the link move doesn't trigger, the GM gives you a link, but also picks one, makes a move as hard as you want, or as hard as the GM wants, and someone else gets a link. So, it can be a little salty. You can feel a little salty if this happens, but shit happens. It'll be fine. This I don't have much experience with. We don't mess around with it a lot, but it should be fine. It's called Limit Break. It sounds cool. I'm pretty sure this is like for moments when the power of friendship is just like that awesome. So let's read about it. Limit Break. When you help your friends or create an opportunity for them, roll with light. On a 10+, you give +1 forward to an ally. On a 9 to 7, I'm sure it's 7 to 9. On a 7 to 9, it costs you. You spend a link or take a harm. On a miss, you make the situation worse. So, you can make everything happen perfectly. You can make things happen at a cost, or you can just totally screw everything up. It's risk. But if you got the links, you should be fine. Interfere. We've had to run an interfere in the second season, and it was amazing. But it was mostly to keep Hercules from running into Team Rocket's boss Giovanni's office, and then we had to run a convince somebody on him, and it's great. It's fun. It can be really great, especially if you have that knucklehead character, or if someone's getting very emotional, you can run an interfere, or whether it's PC or NPC. It's great for high emotional moments or whatever it may be. Interfere. When you try to stop someone else's action by using surprise or force, roll with dark. For personal character, on 10 choose 2, 7 to 9 choose 1. They are pushing through stress to do it, so they really have to try, so they have to really do it to bust through you stopping them. Or they take experience if they don't do it. So you can kind of persuade them, maybe even out of character, like, you know, like, you're better than this. So it's like a convince somebody, but in a more physical situation. On a miss, they do it, and the GM makes a move as hard as they want. It literally says good luck at the end of that sentence. That is like a GM's dream if you try to interfere and it all goes to shit, and the GM can just be like, well, let's bring out a god. Cast magic. It's my favorite. It's so encompassing of many things. Like all of my moves that I do with my familiar, because he can shapeshift, I do as a cast magic roll. you can do a lot of cool shit with cast magic, especially if you're really good at describing the actions that your character is doing. If you're very excited about magic-based characters, you can do a lot of cool shit with cast magic. When you use magic in any meaningful way, roll with mastery. On a 10+, describe your magic and pick 3. On a 7 to 9, do the same but pick 1. The magic opens something. The magic causes 1 harm. The magic heals 1 harm. The magic hits more than 1 entity. The magic has no unintended consequences. The magic creates an illusion. The magic inflicts semi-permanent condition. The magic bypasses defenses. I love magic. Thank you, Riley. I love the magic in this game. You can do so much. Instead of just hitting things, oh lord, I can make them move slower or some shit. And I can send my cat in to do spy missions and shit. It's fun. Strike with intent. Strike with intent. When you move to cause harm against another, roll with dark. On a 10+, deal harm and choose 2. On a 7 to 9, deal harm and choose 1. Defend yourself from harm, deal great harm, so instead of 1 harm you do 2 harm. And take control of the situation, which is awesome if you're not actually trying to kill the character that you're fighting. On a miss, you take harm and the GM makes a move, which is horrifying because you only have 4 in your harm clock. We're squishy. Strike to subdue. When you try to fight another without causing harm, you roll with mastery. On a 10+, deal harm and choose 2. On a 7 and 9, choose 1. Take something from them, force a change of location, or de-escalate the situation. On a miss, you take a harm and the situation escalates. Isn't that great? The last few basic moves are defend from harm. When you try to prevent or avoid danger or harm from happening to either yourself or others, roll with light. On a 10+, you prevent and avoid the danger. On a 7 to 9, it costs you. Expose yourself to the danger or the GM makes a move. On a miss, you take the harm anyway and the situation escalates. Yay! Push through stress. I'm such a nerd. When you push through stress, roll with links. The GM chooses which links to roll based on the situation, whether it's mastery, dark, light, or heart. On a 10+, you pick 2. On a 7 to 9, you pick 1. Succeed at what you were attempting. Take a +1 forward. Ask a question about this scene, or gain an advantageous position. So this is the weird one, instead of it being with your stat. So at the top, your playbooks will have certain stats that you can adjust as you level up. But this one specifically with how many relationships you have created, how many links that you have in that category, and has nothing to do with your stat. So say if you are trying to do something, push through stress with heart, if you've got 8 hearts things, you get a +4 because that's your max. You can do maximum +4. So you roll your 2d6, you got a 8, and you have 6 relationships, you add a 4, and that's a 12. You just you just won with flying colors. Or you could barely make it, and just in case that didn't make sense. Rolling with links. When you roll with links, you roll with the links that you have in your category, not the stat. Oh, I just explained this. Yeah, that made sense, so I don't need it. The GM makes a move. The GM makes a move. It's the scariest thing that they can do. Kinda. The GM makes a move. The GM has a list of moves and principles that they adhere to and can look for guidance when trying to figure out what comes next in the scenario. These are explained more on the GM page on page 13. We'll talk about more of that in my Game Master video that I'm going to be making eventually in the future. In the distant future. But, this is the list of the scary things that can happen if your GM wants to, because all GMs have a lot of power, and that can be horrifying, but it's also really nice because then they can just make things happen and then you have a good time. And that's it. That's everything about how to essentially play this game without going into excruciating amounts of detail. I'm gonna make a video on how to be a game master for this, how to sort of create settings from per the book and per experience and from watching people GM. And I'm also going to be making a video about the playbooks and what kind of things you can do with the playbooks. I'm going to try carefully not to like release them for free, obviously, on the internet, because it's Riley's game and you really should just buy it because he's a great person and worked really hard on this game, and as well as the team he worked with. But I still want to be able to review them and maybe help you and your party proceed with creating the best characters you can. And maybe more in the future. But if you want to listen to some podcasts about, maybe with the podcast running these particular games, some ideas, some inspiration, I have 3 specifically in my head. 1, Riley Hopkins GMs an Interstitial run as a way to introduce the game into the world. It's called Interstitial, Our Hearts Intertwined. It's on Spotify, anywhere you can get podcasts, and it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. My podcast, because I'm going to plug myself shamelessly, is Hearts Against Balance. Given we're a little more homebrewy, we're a little more casual, but I like it that way. And the 3rd one is Kingdom Hearts: A Forgotten Era. This game is beautiful. It is created by our dear, loved Flabebe of Flabebes, Riley Hopkins, also known as Rev Rybread on the Twitter.coms. The game was put together by Riley Hopkins, but the art was done by Shannon Manor. The stained glass design in the logo is done by Sorbet. The graphic design is done by Sasha Renault. The layout is also done by Sasha Renault. The original story is by Chris Hutton and Riley Hopkins. First pass of edits went by Wheels. The second round went through Sasha Renault, and the editor is Steph Schwartz. And if you look inside the PDF that I have, you can get a physical copy, but I have a PDF. There's a special thank you to Mandy, Chris, Nora, Wheels, and Joe for pushing Riley to do this and to teach him about Kingdom Hearts. It's really cute. I love it. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful, and you should enjoy it too, please. And if you want this game, go to mymothercangotohell.com or linksmithgames.com. They'll both take you to the same place. And buy the game. Because it's amazing. And it's like really reasonably priced. And you can get it as a PDF. You can get the extension packs. You can get the physical copy book if you want. I like the PDF personally myself. But do whatever you want. It's your game. Your life. Hell, make playbooks. For all I care. Do it. Have fun. Actually, maybe I should make a video talking about making your own playbooks. That would be cool. Okay. I think that's it. My name's Roma. Thank you for watching. This is my channel, Jeebus Does Art. I do a lot of cool shit on here. Not really. I do shit on here. You can find me on Twitter at I Appreciate Your Butt. You can find me on Instagram at I Appreciate Your Butt, as well as Jeebus Scheme, JeebusKeem. Yes. And Facebook, I have Jeebus Scheme on Facebook too. And if you want to check out my podcast, it's Hearts Against Balance or at Heartscast on Twitter. You can find Riley Hopkins, the guy who made the game, at Rev Rybread. So Reverend like Reverend, Rev like Reverend, Rye like rye bread, and bread. So Rev Rybread. You can find, actually, if you just go to Riley's page, you'll find everyone who was involved with this game on there. You'll find his other games that he's doing. You'll find the If Not Us Then Who, which I'm just getting into and is fantastic. If you want to talk to my GM about how he GMs, it's Anderson's Pride at thetwitter.coms. My producer, who is also a GM and is good at editing our podcast. Fantastic voice actor. Fantastic at coming up with concepts for our games. He is Selborseal, S-C-L-S-E... I'm trying to... S-E-I-L-B-O-R-S-I-U-L. Selborseal at the twitter.com. So you can find him on my thingy. I probably tagged him in a thing. If you want to check out animations, I do little animatics for our podcast. And that should be in the Hearts Against tab, I think, on my YouTube channel. And more art about it on my Twitter. And I think that's it. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.